In this presentation, we are going to be looking at solutions for the Europe and Russia module. So we are going to be talking right now about international governmental organizations, which are to be contrasted with non-governmental organizations that we talked about last time and will continue to talk about during the course. IGOs, international governmental or intergovernmental organizations, are organizations that are founded by two or more member states. So countries form these organizations and give them clear mandates to work in a particular international realm. So rather than being private, nonprofit, they are public nonprofit organizations. Some examples of IGOs that you're probably familiar with include NATO, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is a military self-defense organization, the World Bank, Interpol, which is the International Policing Agency, and then there are lots of regional IGOs as well, like the Organization of American States. And you can find these regional organizations not just in the Americas, but in Asia and Europe and in Africa. Now, the most famous of all the IGOs is, of course, the United Nations, which was founded in 1945 after World War II. It was an organization that was founded effectively to try to end the sort of war that took place during World War II and prevent it from happening again. So its initial mandate focused on international peace and security, but it's expanded since that time. Initially, there were 50-some member states, as I recall. Today, there are over 190 member states, and each member state has a representative in the General Assembly, and then there's a much more powerful Security Council, which includes 5 permanent members, and the United States is, of course, a founding member of that Security Council. There are lots of other agencies in the United Nations that now work in human development in particular. These include things like the World Food Program, UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and UNESCO, which is focused on cultural sites. UNICEF is the Children's Fund. We're going to be focused here just a little bit on the UNHCR. The UNHCR is the United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees, which was founded in 1947 in an effort to deal with all the refugee problems that were caused as a result of World War II. Many people were displaced by the war and were looking to be repatriated to their homelands. And the UNHCR helped to pave the way for this to take place. So it's the UN's refugee agency. Now, the mandate of the UNHCR is to advocate for refugees and their rights around the world. So they work with countries to make sure that refugees are protected. And then they actually do some of the protecting and aiding themselves. Most of the large refugee camps that you see on the news have actually been established by the UNHCR and are provided for by funding from the United Nations. So they respond to big international refugee crises. They set up camps. They help to ultimately try to solve the problems that are caused by refugees being created. Now, the ultimate goal of the UNHCR, is to help refugees to find what are called durable solutions. And by durable solutions, that means long-lasting solutions that don't just try to be a stopgap measure by putting people in a camp or something like that. And so to do this, they do things like vet refugees to make sure that they truly do have claims as a refugee, maintain records of where people are, and then work with host countries around the world to make official refugee placements. In addition to this, there's all sorts of project-based work that the UNHCR does. And I'm not going to talk about each aspect of the project work. Rather, what I'd like you to do is go to the UNHCR's webpage and take a look at the different types of work they do, as well as some of the emergency responses that they're engaged in. But I've listed a couple things here which make obvious sense. The UNHCR helps to shelter people, not just in camps, but other ways as well. Helps to establish public health projects, and helps to educate the children of refugees who are trapped in these camps. They respond to all sorts of emergencies around the world. Some of the ones that have been in the news the most lately and are most prominent include the Syrian refugee problem, which is impacting not just Syria and neighboring countries, but also Europe as well. the refugee crisis in Yemen and also in Central Africa, right now focused on the Central African Republic. But you'll be doing a little bit more work and looking into some of the work that the UNHCR does on your own. So IGOs as a different way of addressing problems that we're talking about in this course compared to NGOs, which are the private-based organizations.